When engines fire for the final time this season, Steve Singer will have safe knowledge of his championship. But racing is not over just yet. One round remains of the Scar Grid Sports Car Championship, bringing us to Sonoma Raceway for one final chance at an upset winner. Hi, and welcome to PitStop TV. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV. JP Costa joins me in the booth as per usual. We had a nice fill-in last week from Devin Zimmerman, and we appreciate that. But it's good to have you back, JP, as we get ready for round 10 of 10 in the Scar Grid Sports Car Championship. They had nearly a month off, then came back last week at Laguna Seca, and we get back-to-back races now, something we've not had in this series before. It's challenging these drivers to get ready for this race this evening at Sonoma. Laguna Seca was definitely wild last week. Sonoma, even though it's shorter, tighter, it might actually be a little more relaxed. A light field this evening, things are going to change. We saw Kevin Blue win last week. Can another upset winner win tonight?
Oh, I sure do hope so, but obviously, first of all, I'm so happy to be back here with these guys. I'm so happy to be back at Scar, and obviously, I'm back for the finale. This is what it all comes down to, Andrew, and as you mentioned, we had an upset winner last week. Why not make it two? Obviously, I guess our bets will be on that, but, you know, anything can happen. These guys, I'm pretty sure, are going to put on a show, and as you mentioned, Sonoma might be a bit more relaxed than Laguna Seca, but it's still not an easy track whatsoever.
Now, you get a good look around here in the B-roll now, and this place is certainly one of the more challenging road courses, I think, in America. It's just so fast, you hit a lot of curves, and the elevation change certainly is there. I wouldn't at all put it towards the top of the list of most challenging by any means, but it's up there at least in the list of challenging racetracks, and it's so fun to drive. It's so rewarding to get right here at Sonoma, just every little bit of it. And of course we are, as we'll get to in just one moment, we are on the 2-mile configuration. So if you're familiar, that is the short configuration. That has the chute out of turn number 4 as opposed to the moment of carousel in that kind of infield section, if you will, where you go through or go down the drag strip here at Sonoma. So personally, I love this course a whole lot more than the carousel course. I know a lot of fans agree with me in NASCAR anyway, but hey, we had it here this evening for some GT1 action. Let's go ahead and look at the track map then, JP. You can see it there. Turn 1, honestly, is 2 parts. You have that first kink, which is usually flat out in most cars, but not all cars. In fact, NASCAR stock cars more recently are having to lift there because they've gotten so much faster out of the final corner. But these guys should be flat out through turn 1, then up around that second, I would call that turn 1A almost with the numbering system here, and that left-hander to properly go uphill to turn 2. That's pretty tricky, that's pretty challenging. It's when you're starting to lean into the brakes a little bit, and if you don't do things just right, you are going to have a bad day. You are going to have trouble headed up to turn 2 and likely lock up and go right over that hill.
Absolutely. It's so challenging to get the braking and the correct cornering speed, especially on those corners. Turn 2 and turn 3A comes to mind. And obviously, once you finish turn 3A, you come to the turn 4, and then obviously the chute, you know, the small straightaway before turn 5, and then you really get into, I guess you can just call it the overall S's from turn 6 all the way to turn 10. And it's just so much fun over that, Andrew. I guess it doesn't matter which car you drive, you know, especially when you have these GT1 cars, you know, cars with quite a bit of downforce. It just makes it so much fun. And then obviously turn 10, you really have to be careful to not run too wide. And then obviously you come down to the hairpin. A really tricky braking zone, but again, rewarding to drive. And then turn 12, just flat out to do it all over again for these guys for 45 minutes.
It's going to be exciting tonight. I love everything about Sonoma Raceway. I know it's maybe a little bit underrated for a lot of people. I think maybe some people overlook it a lot, and we've even got that a little bit in that column of information about Sonoma Raceway. I feel like it's certainly one of the premier North American road courses, and has been for a while, but it does get overlooked by, 4 courses, you know, like Watkins Glen, Road America, and Daytona, even nearby Laguna Seca. So I understand it, but I think I like this place just a little bit more. I always find that first sector really rewarding. I love the S's when you get it just right, and for some reason, turn 10 to turn 11 to the hairpin, that's always just so much fun. And I mean, how can you not like turn 4 here with the massive curve on the inside, the massive curve on the outside? It just curves galore, and try to miss that wall on the outside of the corner. Go back to the mid-2000s and you'll find some good NASCAR replays of just firing through turn 4. It's so much fun here at Sonoma. But enough about the racetrack. Let's talk about the series and these drivers. They get ready to embark on their final race of the season, and you can see Steve Singer well out and ahead of these guys, even after a drop week after Laguna Seca last week. 38 points. It's not going to be overcome by Mark Truxell this evening, especially with the lighter field that we have this evening. But you can see where some guys have moved around. Neil Quick significantly higher in the standings, albeit not here tonight, unfortunately. Mark Truxell looking pretty good. He's not going to lose second, in fact, because Andrew Locke is not here. Brian Rose, he is here. So you know what? Brian Rose could take third back away from Andrew Locke, and Cody Harger looks like a solid lock to finish out that top 5. But still, a lot of positions to kind of move around a little bit, and I think we'll even see Thomas McMullen potentially, well, maybe not get to Vincent Short, but certainly get closer to Vincent Short and pull away from David Bradford. So still a few positions to work out, and really the big thing is these guys have one final race, JP, to just go out there, have some fun, and enjoy themselves.
Oh, absolutely, and that's what it comes down to, you know, just having fun. And with the schedule that we had throughout the season, it was quite a bit of fun. Obviously, we had the challenging courses. I guess we can mention Canadian Tire, maybe. Barber was a bit tricky. Lime Rock, you know, some of those courses. But obviously, you know, overall, Andrew, I'm pretty sure you can agree with me. This is a great schedule, especially for the GT1 cars, for any car for that sort of matter. And for these guys to learn the cars and learn road racing as well, it was fantastic.
Very much looking forward to getting things going this evening. Let's go trackside then and start to cover some of this qualifying session. Most of it has actually already elapsed. In fact, most of these guys have run their laps in and are pretty much done with things. We might see a few more laps out of most of these guys. Steve Singer, in fact, is still on the racetrack. There's a look at Thomas McMullen. And what do you know? Steve Singer, fastest all season. He is going to go off the track just a little bit out of turn 10, but he is very much on pole so far.
Absolutely, he has been the man of the season, hasn't he? You know, just has dominated. He's got, what, 4 wins on the season?
Yep.
So, yeah, if he wins tonight, he will have won 50% of the season. So, you know, absolutely amazing job for him. Cody Harger sitting in 3rd place, just 0.2 of a second shy of 2nd place, so maybe he can improve on that. But it's the final qualifying session of the season, Andrew. This is what it comes down to, essentially.
Good look at Harger there, popping the curbs in 3A. He'll head down to turn number 4 now, and this is what I love so much about this shorter course. You pop that inside curve, you pop that outside curve, and try not to hit that wall on the outside of the corner. It's just so much fun. It's really rewarding when you get it right, and especially in stock cars. GT cars, it's a little different, and certainly you can shatter the TC a little bit, but hey, at least there's no ABS to worry about, right? If you hit the brake pedal too hard, you're gonna go sliding. Another look then at Thomas McMullen. He'll wrap up a lap here in just one moment, it looks like, as he works into the hairpin.
Looks like a bit of a lockup, maybe the rear getting a bit unstable on that final corner. Obviously one of the heaviest braking zone, if not the heaviest on the race course. He's going to finish up his lap. He's going to improve by 0.7 of a second. Yeah, that was a big improvement for him. He's up to 5th, so a good qualifying session for him. And here we have a look, Andrew, at turn 2, how difficult it is to get the car slowed down. Obviously the car goes a bit lighter over the crest, so you might lose a little bit of grip. And, well, Steve Singer just went quite a bit faster.
Yeah, that's really not a surprise out of this guy. He's just so good in the GT1 cars. He's got him figured out, certainly in comparison to the rest of the field. He just knows what he's doing. And I know Brennan Kennedy was asking out in the chat before we got going this evening what the biggest challenge for these drivers would be. It's going to be braking here. I really do think so. I think these cars should have enough downforce to kind of handle the curves pretty nicely, to handle getting around the S's, for example, but definitely braking here at Sonoma is going to be key for these guys, as we'll actually get a few more moments of qualifying. Cody Harger might be able to go a little bit faster.
He'll definitely want to. He's navigating through the S's. Yeah, the final part, you can see here now, turn 10. This is where the power engine word is just really easy to dip a wheel into the dirt. He doesn't. So now coming into turns 11, he gets it all slowed down. Nice hit on the apex. Get the power out. Be careful not to chatter the TC. Then you just line yourself up for the final corner. Come to the shortest line possible. He decides to take the racing line, and he does improve. He actually goes to 2nd. Yeah, there we go.
He'll just lock up, let it slide through turn 2. Not going to get a whole lot else. In fact, he's going to visit our camera. How about that? Nice to see you, Cody. Thanks for paying us a visit there on turn number 2. That will do it then for qualifying. I know there's 45 seconds left, but that truly is it. Do want to take this time then to thank our partners here with PitStop TV. Of course, we do want to thank, actually, the sponsor, the partner here of the SCAR Grid Sports Car Championship, Grid by SimLab. They've done a fantastic job supporting this series throughout the entirety of its season, and just a big shout out to Grid Engineering by SimLab. Really fun partnering with them and getting to work with them and the SCAR Sports Car Championship here. Big shout out to our partners as well here at PitStop TV, Tucson Sound Art, Permanent Makeup and Crywin Maine, Whiplash Media SimCams, and BAM Racing Videos by a race fan for the racing community. It's been a lot of fun this season. 10 races now as we get to go for the 10th one, and honestly, I can't believe it's over. To be entirely honest with you, it's kind of lasted since October. Only 10 races, so it's been kind of spread out, and we had that 3-week off spread for February, and I think we had a bit of a break over Christmas there a little bit as well, but kind of weird that we're not going to have any more races after this evening, JP. And what do you say we go ahead and give it one last go around here on the grid of 8 cars?
Absolutely. Steve Singer, he's going to line up on pole on his number 6 car. The number 66 of Cody Harger is going to line up in 2nd place. 3rd place will go the ways of Brian Rose in his number 89. 4th place will go to Kevin Blue.
Starting in 5th, you'll find car 02, Thomas McMullen. Vincent Short will start from his right side. So actually, no, he won't close in on Vincent Short, at least not enough. Those positions should stand as they are. Jesse Redding will start from position number 7, Mark Truxell from position number 8. And Kevin Blue, actually, I'm kind of surprised that he qualified. Let me review the notes here from Steve Singer. Okay, so he will get an EOL once they start rolling. So, car 26 there. That's a good look at Kevin Blue. He will have to go to the rear for the start of the race. Congratulations once again to him. Big win last week at Laguna Seca. It was wild. It certainly came down to some dramatic moments there at the end between Neil Quick and Andrew Locke, and it was this guy that was the benefactor of it all at the very end. Kevin Blue, car 26, went on through for a win and now has to start from the rear. And this is one of the things I actually like about the series a lot, seeing drivers that win and succeed have to go to the rear and fight their way back through the next week.
Oh, absolutely. It brings a nice, I guess, a nice spinner in the mix, as I like to call it. You know, it just brings an extra challenge for these drivers, and it makes it interesting. Obviously, you know, I guess, you know, it's just fun. It obviously brings in a new challenge for them, and Kevin will definitely thank that challenge, Andrew, I hope, and, well, hopefully he can make it 2 out of 2. Who knows? You know, only 7 cars ahead of him in the grid, so it's definitely still in the books for him to come back from last place and win the race.
Absolutely. The guy who's done it the most this season, Steve Singer, has done it over and over. We could see it again, as it looks like Cody Harger got ahead of himself and the rest of the field there. He'll have to wait up on Steve Singer and company to join him. This has just been a fun season of racing. I mean, a lot of good racetracks. Let's bring the schedule back up. A lot of really good racetracks throughout the entirety of this season. 10 races at 10 fantastic venues.
Oh, absolutely. I love each and every single one of them. It kind of reminds, as you mentioned, it started in October, but I kind of can remember Daytona a little bit, so it was really fun. Barber, I also remember the challenge of these drivers. And obviously, Andrew, the fun part is also seeing the improvement of each and every single driver that, you know, participated on nearly all races.
It has been a whole lot of fun watching these guys grow and learn these cars a bit more and get better, certainly, as you kind of touched on there throughout the course of the season. Weather this evening as we get ready to go for 45 minutes of action. Just about as cold as you can make it. 65 degrees air temp, 65 degrees track temp. It is a nice, chilly Northern California morning. Let's get this race on the road then. Through the hairpin, the last 2 corners on the track. Turn 11, then turn 12 to get these guys rolling, and it's all in the hands of Steve Singer out front. Already starting to roll a bit quick, matching pace car's speed, and green flag will fly. The final green flag of the season, nice and orderly up and over turns 1 and 2. 3A now, 1 car off. That is Vincent Short in the 15. And 1 car around, that is Jesse Redding behind him. Everybody else gets away.
Looks like the trouble point was corner number 3 and 3A, but the rest of the field makes it through. No contact, looks like, so no damage. You can see Steve Singer kind of pulling away a little bit, Andrew, but the rest of the field looks quite close as we have yet another mistake, looks like on turn number 5, but well, everybody's pointing in the same direction. Everybody has all the parts in their cars, so it's a great start.
Steve Singer, as per usual, gets away nice and cleanly. He's just going to squeak out to a championship this evening. I don't expect too much challenge for him. Of course, we will have that halfway break towards the end, well, towards halfway, I suppose. That'll take about 5 minutes of racing out of the day. Otherwise, I mean, this seems like the perfect day for Steve Singer to just go and quietly claim a championship and show why he's going to get that championship.
Absolutely. By the end of lap 1, he already has a 2-second gap. So at this point, he's just controlling the pace. You know, there's no need to push and overdrive your car, force a mistake. You know, just keep driving at a pace that is comfortable for you. Oh, it looks like Kevin Blue made a mistake on the exit of turn 2. And, well, that's going to unfortunately set him back quite a few positions. Looks like he's going to be dropping to 7th place. So this is exactly what Steve Singer doesn't need, Andrew. Just push the car and maybe force an unforced error.
A little further to the front, Brian Rose chasing down Cody Harger, lap number 2 now. These two are just under a second apart. And through the S's for the second time. This is going to be a lot of fun watching these guys navigate the S's. Popping the curb there on the inside for Brian Rose, just lost him about a half a second. So that's what I'm going to enjoy personally, just watching these guys get through the S's, try not to hit the apex curbing. You can use the outside curbing here a lot more than a lot of the inside curbing. Obviously, you can use it here in the hairpin, but even in turn 2, you do not want to touch that curb if you don't have to. On the exit of the corner, that's one thing, but turn 4 comes to mind as well. 3, of course, we'll see here as we get this lap started. 1, there is no curbing. Here in turn 2, though, you do not want to use this curbing on the right. You do not want to touch that any more than you need to. Very light touch there, if anything, for Brian Rose. So good curb, I guess, discipline there. You don't want to touch it there on the inside of 3 or 3A. You can get a little bit to help rotate the car, but you don't really want to get it. 3A exit curbing, though, that's usable. Here at the apex of 4, you don't want to touch it. On the exit, though, you want to use it. And down here as well in turn 5, you do not want to use that inside curbing. You can use it on exit, but you do not want to use that inside curbing. I think Sonoma Raceway has done a great job of making the apex curbing a detriment to the car.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of brings another challenge, which is just having precision, you know, throughout the race. You mentioned, you know, you don't need to touch, you don't have to touch the curb more than you have to. It kind of has that a bit of a lip, I guess you can call it, before, you know, I guess you can call it step. It's a massive curb, and it's obviously going to unsettle the car. We might see some mistakes from some drivers, so it kind of rewards a little bit of that precision driving, Andrew, you know, getting as close as you can to the danger without, you know, obviously hurting yourself or your car. So it's fun to watch, but you know what else is fun to watch? This battle right here.
Kevin Blue working on Vincent Short. This is for position number 5. Jesse Redding has fallen way off. Both of these guys tight. They're into 1. Well, really 1A, if you will. Over turn 2, nice and easy, though. Oh, a bit sideways there for Vincent Short. Even Kevin Blue had a moment. The cold track is going to mess with these guys. Trying to get power down, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be another tricky challenge for these guys to manage those. You can see Kevin Blue being really aggressive, kind of overdriving the car, looks like, early on in the race, getting quite close to that inside barrier. You can see he just looking down the inside of each and every single corner, trying to get past Vincent Short. This could have hurt him, Andrew. And one thing we haven't talked about is that first sector between, you know, turns 1 and maybe even turn 4. You can see here on the S's a little bit. If you just overdrive a car, you're just going to compromise the whole sector, and you can see just how much Vincent Short has driven away from him just by a small mistake.
So the back end here of lap number 5, we're expecting potentially 40. I mean, we're ripping off pretty quick lap times in the 107s. In the case of Steve Singer, 109s for Cody Harger and Brian Rose, 110 for Mark Truxell, 111s for Vincent Short, even Kevin Blue. So really quick lap times, right around NASCAR times here when they ran this shorter course, and they'll be running this shorter course again later this year, actually, in 2022. I'm excited for that. As I mentioned earlier, I much prefer this shorter course to the course of the carousel, at least for stock cars, even for GT cars, though. I really like this shorter course. It's a lot more fun.
Absolutely. We've had Sonoma before. I'm pretty sure it was Pacific Challenge, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, a while back.
Yeah, a while back. I remember the troubles that Carousel had with some drivers. So the shorter layout, and I guess incites more racing as well, Andrew. These looks like much more overtaking prone corners, you know, turns 4 and 5 than what you have with the Carousel. So it's much fun. Obviously much shorter, which brings more laps, and I just like it as well. You know, now that you mentioned, I'm really excited to see the new NASCAR, the next gen NASCAR cars around here. That should also be wild.
So long as we don't have too many flat tires in that race, we'll just let that one marinate. Cody Harger second place, Brian Rose third. These two are very, very close as they work up the hill for turn 2. And one thing I love about the vibe of this series as a whole is that it is classic, I say classic, mid-2000s GT1 cars. It's crazy to think that's still 15 years ago, 16 years ago, so it really could classify almost as classic. But mid-2000s GT1 cars, and if you think back to broadcasts of those days, you saw a lot of these onboard shots, and that's just kind of what a lot of it was. Think to Le Mans, for example. Even today, you see a lot of onboard shots mixed in with TV cameras, and just sitting on board with these cars just feels right. Some cars today, I think TV cameras do them more justice. I would say F1. Certainly, I prefer the TV cameras to the onboards. I don't know why, but with these GT1 cars, I much prefer the onboards.
And we have some, I guess, iconic onboards as well, Andrew. I can't quote the year, but I remember Magnussen racing on the final laps at Laguna Seca as well. I often come back to that video just to remind myself some of the battles. And this battle right here reminds me a little bit of that one, you know, just close battling. You can see sometimes the momentum shifting between one driver and the other. Looks like Kevin Blue got past Vincent Short on the hairpin. But, you know, it's just iconic shot. Those headlights as well, Andrew, those are fantastic. In the background, we have, for tonight's race as well, that sunset looks absolutely amazing as Vincent Short goes really deep into turn number 2. That's going to compromise a little bit of his exit, but at least he makes it through.
You know what's great about that sunset, as you say, it's actually a sunrise. We're in the morning here. These are morning conditions for these guys. Why it's so cold as well. 65 degrees in the air. That might sound like a lot for the rest of the world, but here where we use Freedom units, that's pretty chilly actually. 65 is a lower temperature to what you'd see, especially for racing. So it's decent. You can see that sun is just starting to poke up. Might even be able to see it from our scenic blimp. Well, we'll see it in a minute, I suppose. But yeah, that sun's starting to poke up. It's starting to look pretty good.
Absolutely, and we're kind of getting used to these vibes, aren't we, Andrew? You know, BSR, obviously, the final 2 races normally of the day, they normally have this
road racers love morning races for some reason. I don't know what it is.
I don't know either. Sometimes I do prefer a bit of the hotter weather, you know, just to help with the tire temperatures, but, you know, racing around here, when you're commentating, it looks absolutely beautiful. When you're driving, you're not really paying attention, but, you know, it's just fun nonetheless.
Good look here at Ryan Rose and his number 89 Aston Martin, chasing down Cody Harder if he can. Gets that exit curbing. And this is actually the best battle on the racetrack right now. They aren't too close at the very moment, but they're actually closer than they have been for most of this race. Ryan Rose did a good job of trying to settle in, but right there, he's got to get off of that curb. He has got to stop hitting that curb at the apex of the beginning of the S's to drop down. That's costing him tenths every time he does it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's something he'll have to essentially shift his driving style a little bit. He's going to have to turn it a little bit later, which might take some getting used to, but, you know, if he's just following, he might just learn a bit from Cody Harger. And one thing we haven't mentioned, Andrew, you know, is obviously the 2 cars that we have, the Aston Martin and the Corvette. They're really similar, but the season has been dominated by the Aston Martin, even with all those, you know, close qualities, I guess I can say, close characteristics of each car. The Aston has just, you know, dominated the season.
Jesse Redding was just off out of turn 2, and Mark Truxell actually was just passed up by Kevin Blue, so a couple of things happening there all at once as this race rolls on. Jesse Redding now the first car 1 lap down. Ooh, and Truxell there a little bit sideways at a 2. Now, honestly, I would have expected Truxell to be pretty darn good here. This is a track that a lot of these guys that run stock cars should be well and familiar with, so this would be a track where I would peg Truxell as one of the better drivers, but he's just not going anywhere right now. And his general philosophy in racing tends to be just, you know, sit back and let the race come to him. But I still would have expected the 5 car to be a little bit quicker tonight.
Yeah, maybe seeing him, you know, just battling outside, maybe in the position where Kevin Blue is right now, you know, in 4th place. Maybe even 3rd or 2nd, just fighting a bit of those guys, but you can see the gap between them, you know, between 3rd place and 4th. It's quite a big one, so not the day that, you know, Mark Truxell wanted to, but the race can still come to him, Andrew. But, you know, as you mentioned, the pace, I think we expected it to be a little bit better or a little bit stronger from the number 5.
This will wrap up lap number 9 for these drivers. Steve Singer already on lap 10. And he's already in turn 5 at the bottom end of the circuit. He'll come through turn 6 here. And I know the jury is kind of out on some of the numbering here at Sonoma, especially because of the carousel being used in more series, and including NASCAR recently, but I still say the bottom of the hill there is turn 5, then 6, 7, 8 through the S's. This is turn 10. And one of the best corners, I think, in road racing in America. I know I say that about a lot of corners. I know the corkscrew at Laguna Seca is up there, but just 10 and 11 is so much fun here at Sonoma. And rewarding, as I keep saying, rewarding when you get it right, and Steve Singer has got it right so far this evening. He'll wrap up the first quarter of this race. And I'd imagine that lap total will definitely get cut down a little bit, probably to low to mid 30s, but still going to be a lot of laps compared to most of these races that we've had this season.
Yeah, shorter layout, shorter lap time, that's just going to bring in. Obviously, Andrew, that might bring an interesting challenge as well for the drivers. With longer laps, you can kind of, lean more on the fuel side. You can kind of maybe just push the fuel tank 1 or 2 laps shorter, just to maybe undercut or overcut your competitor. That should bring an interesting challenge should we see it, because looks like that could be the deciding factor between Cody Harger and Brian Rose due to how close they are throughout, at least his first stint.
You raised a good point about Brian Rose potentially. He could save a little bit of fuel and hop over Cody Harger. But you know what? I think over the course of the 9 races we've had previously, Cody Harger has seemed the most aggressive between these two, or the more aggressive between these two on pit strategy. So I wouldn't be surprised if Cody Harger plays something, plays a card up his sleeve or something at the pit stop and stays ahead, or even gets the lead potentially. We've seen that before. On board here with Brian Rose in position number 3. These guys are actually starting to hold steady to Steve Singer. I think Steve is starting to back out a little bit. And these guys have actually run some of their best laps. They're into the 108s now. I mentioned earlier that for a while, if you recall, JP, they were running 109s, which was 2 seconds off of pace, off of Steve Singer's pace. Now they're in the 108s pretty securely. So these guys are starting to pick something up.
Yeah, absolutely. The confidence levels might be rising for for these two at least. Cody Harger might just trying to press a little bit harder on that gas pedal to essentially just break away from Rose. And Rose obviously is going to not let that happen. So, the lap times are going to be dropping. You can see Rose right now getting a little bit away from that curb injury, as we mentioned. So he's learning. Obviously, that lap may not have been the ideal. Looks like that section of the racetrack goes to Cody Harger each and every single lap. But from the first sector, at least, Brian seems to be catching up to number 66 quite a lot.
He just can't get there, and let alone get by him. So held back a little bit here is car 89. As we've already gotten through 15 minutes of racing, almost 14 minutes to be exact, in just a few seconds. It's actually going by a lot more quickly than I thought it would have here. As, again, the season has gone by decently quickly. I know it's kind of gone on longer than it was supposed to with the advent of everything that went on through January and February, but I don't know. It seems like it's gone by nicely. I know a lot of seasons tend to drag on, but NARL and SCAR just seem like they kind of go at their nice own little pace, and yeah, it's pretty nice. I've really enjoyed covering these races. I know it's been some of the more relaxed road racing that we have, certainly when you compare it to BSR, for example. Certainly more relaxed road racing compared to what we get, but it's been a lot of fun. I enjoy these cars a lot, and I think a lot of people do as well. They're niche cars, but those who love them properly love them.
Absolutely. And I still remember the day you messaged me, talking about the broadcast we're gonna have GT1 cars, and the smile that opened on my face was absolutely amazing. I haven't had the opportunity to drive these cars on iRacing, so seeing them, hearing them, and obviously just commentating over them in the battles that we had is just so much fun. And yeah, it's unfortunate that it's coming to an end. As you mentioned, it's a bit more relaxed than British sim racers, but it's still very, very much fun.
Waiting on more of the field to come on through here. They're into the hairpin now. And this is a good way to visualize the gaps that we have on screen, so you can see the intervals between the leader and each driver. There's Kevin Blue. Here comes Mark Truxell. Actually, that was Jesse Redding. There's Mark Truxell. And next up will be Vincent Short, and then Thomas McMullen. This is a really good way to visualize these gaps.
Yeah, it's just kind of people running their own races, Andrew. But sometimes that's not bad at all. Having drivers focusing on their own race, and kind of helps them also just improve their lap times. As we have, looks like that's Vincent Short with a mistake out of turn number 2. So once again, looks like the number 15 struggling a little bit with that corner.
Oh, he's off at 3A. Save it. He's going to go around properly now for a spin. He does keep it out of the tire barriers, which is good. You know what this race weirdly feels like, JP, is the recent 9-hour of Kyalami, South Africa. I don't know exactly how to say the track name, but it kind of feels like that, where it was a lighter field, but it was just a nice, clean race. You know, its own little talking points, and just fun to cover as Vincent Short gets back out there. He has dropped behind Thomas McMullen now by some 13 seconds, but will get back on his way, and actually Steve Singer is just behind him.
Yeah, Steve Singer is catching up to Vincent Short, and this could actually help Vincent. You know, as soon as the number 6 catches him, he could learn a thing or two about, you know, the driving style, where to turn in, where to brake, what line to take, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, it could generally help him and maybe, you know, start reeling him back into Thomas McMullen. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But Andrew, this on-board chart just kind of just showed us the precision and just the smoothness overall of Steve Singer is just kind of out of this world, isn't it?
And, you know, oh, wow, 107.126. How about that? Purple, perfectly timed for Steve Singer. I don't want to give the wrong impression here. There's definitely faster GT1 drivers in the world, right? You know, on iRacing, there's definitely people that go faster than Steve Singer. But he is just... I know he's, you know, probably more road course inclined as he has these connection issues, these connection blips. He's probably more road course inclined than a lot of these guys, but he has just shown his patience. No matter how good you are, no matter how good your car is, even in real racing, for example, where the cars do differ and they are built differently and to different qualities, even if you have everything handed to you as a driver, you've got to execute. You've got to stay mistake-free. You've got to go through the motions. You've got to go through the full season, and it hasn't been mistake-free for Steve Singer, but it has been nearly mistake-free. It's been a really good season of racing for him. Very few mistakes, very consistent, consistently in these purple times, consistently fast, consistently leading laps, consistently winning or very close to winning. Just consistency has been name of the game, unlike his connection currently. So hopefully his connection finds that consistency and it comes back to him here towards the end of the race. But obviously, there are faster drivers in the world. There are slower drivers in the world that even we have in this race. These guys are kind of, I think, somewhere in the middle, and they've certainly moved up that ladder. The entire season, these 10 races, they've had some pretty challenging road courses. Granted, they're all mostly North American, and, you know, you could argue something there, but we'll leave that for another time. They've had 10 great road courses to get through and to learn and to get accustomed to these race cars and modulate the brakes and deal with the lack of TC and get used to the arrows. Oh, Brian Rose, good catch. They've had 10 races to get used to the stuff like that. And I think in week 1, Brian Rose might have crashed that car. Well, it's a spin, not a crash. Point being, he has saved the car. The car is fine. He will keep rolling. I think week 1, he might have crashed that and not been quite as okay.
And not only that, the confidence levels have clearly gone up by these drivers. You know, just learning to trust the car.
Yeah, he had to push hard enough to find that limit. He had to physically push to actually find that you can make a mistake there out of turn 4. That wasn't a driver just being clueless and making a mistake. That was a driver trying to catch somebody, trying to race somebody, and overstep the bounds a little bit. So he found the limit right there.
Absolutely, and that happens to each and every single driver. We see drivers in F1 doing that all the time. Vincent Short, unfortunately, running a bit too wide. It looks like, again, on turn number 2. And it looks like we have a full course shell.
So this will serve as our halfway break. And they are engineered to come out with about 20 minutes down in the race. 25 minutes to go, which is right where it comes out. I think 11 seconds to spare. And part of that, I think, was admittedly to keep Vincent Short on the lead lap. So in the eye of competition, it's not going to change anything whether it come out there or 10 seconds later, really. Just want to make sure Vincent Short has a chance to gather himself up and stay on this lead lap. Let's go back and see if we can find what happened to him more recently here. He had something happen to him. And it should be here in turn 3. No, that's turn 2, actually, where he goes off. Just kind of a nice little lazy run into the dirt.
Yeah, and it's really easy to do that. You know, I mentioned, either me or you mentioned, you know, the front end just goes a bit lighter on that, so you kind of lose a little bit of the grip. And if you're just carrying a bit too much speed, which is essentially easy to go on turn 2, just, you know, due to that, you know, turn 1 nature, he just kind of just run off wide, and unfortunately not a lot of tarmac, not tarmac at all, it's just dirt, so you're just gonna be running wide and pretty much rallying that section. So it's really easy mistake to do, and unfortunately he fell victim of it.
Continuing on here, 24 minutes to go as time counts on down. And we are under that full course yellow. Cody Harger has caught race leader Steve Singer, is now behind him in the pacing field as they've caught the pace car. Brian Rose is coming up. Kevin Blue will join him. Mark Truxell will follow suit. Thomas McMullen in 6th and Vincent Short in 7th. Jesse Redding 1 lap down. Should get an opportunity at a free pass, I would imagine, and get back on this lead lap. But while that all happens, while these guys have a chance to go ahead and group as a pacing field, then work on down to the pit lane, we are going to go side by side, take a quick break, and get a much-needed drink of water quickly before we continue on with coverage here from Sonoma. Thanks for joining us so far here at PitStop TV. We certainly do appreciate it, and we will see you in just a few moments.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to the virtual Sonoma Raceway. Glad to have you here this afternoon, evening, morning, potentially, wherever you're watching from. I know it's getting close to morning for you, JP. I think, a half hour, and it'll be morning for you. But regardless, we're glad to have all of you joining us this evening at PitStop TV. It's always a pleasure, especially with the Scar Grid Sports Car Championship. A big shout out to Grid Engineering by SimLab for coming on board for this season, and hopefully for many seasons following. It is Sonoma this evening, race 10 of 10, and JP, it's been a quiet but fun one so far.
Oh, absolutely. It has been, I guess, it's not what we expected, but, it has been fun nonetheless, Obviously, we want to see drivers going side by side throughout the race, But, the challenges that the drivers have to face around Sonoma, obviously we had Steve Singer just driving away, but we had a nice, fun battle for second place. And, well, it's all bunched up once again, so it should be even more interesting.
And Steve Singer has dropped back through the order. You saw him take tires and take an extended period of stay in his pit box. He is down at a third as the pace car will peel into pit lane and get ready for racing once again, which means the field is actually going to be in the hands of Cody Harger here for the restart. And I mentioned earlier, didn't I, that Cody Harger tends to be aggressive on these pit strategies. What do you know? He's back out in front, leading us to the green flag. The second green flag of the day. Restart is live. We're green flag racing once more. I do have a sneaking suspicion that the time of day might be static. That sun seems like it's staying in the same spot, doesn't it? But through turn 4 there, Steve Singer still 5th. He is closing here on Kevin Blue. No, Mark Truxell actually in the 4th spot. Kevin Blue into 3rd. It's Harger and Rose out front once more, a half second apart. On board with car 6.
He's just going to be applying pressure to the car number 5. We should see a move, Andrew, down into the hairpin, I dare say. If car number 5 goes defensive, then that might have to wait, but I should expect the number 6 to be a bit more aggressive. Running a little bit too wide, looks like, on turn 10, so not going to happen this early. So, well, it's going to be interesting to see when... Oh, well, it does happen. There we go, so I take that back. Unfortunately, Mark Truxell looks like locks up his front tires and runs a bit too wide and yields that position. I think that might
have been intentional, actually. I think he let him go, which is certainly one way to do it.
Absolutely, just getting rid of that unnecessary pressure, you can say, just trying to learn from the driver that has been absolutely nailing lap after lap. You can see now Brian Rose might come under pressure from Kevin Blue, Andrew. This should be interesting to see.
Yeah, Kevin Blue is keeping things on the racetrack this time. I think if he had in the first run, he would have been a lot closer to Brian Rose to begin with. A good challenge from him here. He's within a second of Rose, but Singer's within a second of him, so everything closing in, tightening in here in the midfield. As we have just over 16 minutes of racing left. A good shot from the tower here of the S's. And I do see Eddie Rose out in the chat. And Eddie, I want to thank you for tuning in for most of the season, if not the entire season, and being here, of course, this evening, and all the kind words that you've given us. Definitely appreciate it. We appreciate all the viewers that have tuned in this season, and really ever here on PitStop TV, but definitely appreciate guys like you. Ooh, Singer. A look to the inside there of Blue. I think we're going to have a battle this lap.
Absolutely. Kevin Blue will have to focus not only on catching up Brian Rose, but also defending from Steve Singer. And the gap that Cody Harder built to Brian Rose is the largest we had throughout the race. Oh, Kevin Blue goes a little bit wider on the final part of turn number 1. It's going to compromise a lot of his line. And, well, look at the gap, Andrew, already coming down quite a bit. So the pressure that Steve Singer is applying, well, it's definitely working. Look at the run. We might see a move this early on. The number 6 pulls to the inside. Not close enough for the braking, but he's definitely making his presence known.
That he is. Steve Singer is definitely filling the mirrors right now, which is half the battle. Is under braking, and I think maybe a quick downshift there gets the 6 to skate under braking. That was a little bit sketchy. Kept control of it, and we'll get back after it.
And just like that, he pretty much shoves it off. Oh, it goes a little bit too wide on, looks like turn 8. Yeah, he's definitely pushing, trying to catch up Kevin Blue. He's on fresh tires as well, so it might just be still warming him up a little bit. But I don't think, with 2 laps of racing, you see he goes, really aggressive on the apex and gets that position. No, they're going to drag race.
He's really pushing. Kevin Blue's going to keep him honest, though. Side by side, Blue hangs on to 3rd across the line. Will Kevin Blue stay there? No, he backs out for 1 and gives Steve Singer that spot ultimately by the time they get up to turn number 2. So put Steve Singer back on podium. Kevin Blue runs a bit wide there in 2 and gives up some more time.
That was a beautiful move by Steve Singer. And the gap between Cody Harger and Brian Rose came down quite a bit. Around a second and a half maybe came down from the last lap. So definitely a mistake from the number 66. Brian Rose might also be picking up the pace and the confidence after his, essentially spin on exit of turn 5. So we might see a nice battle, Andrew, because currently the gap is 5.5 tenths. But they still have around 1.6, 1.7 to Steve Singer behind him.
So a lot closer than it was earlier. And looking at pit times, I don't think Cody Harger or Brian Rose took tires. We saw Steve Singer take tires. I don't think Kevin Blue took tires. Truxell and Short definitely did. I wonder if that's playing into things here as this race goes on a little bit, and we actually do have a close battle here for first and second. Brian Rose closing in that Popple Aston Martin.
Brian's really catching up on the hairpin and the first sector, but he's losing quite a bit of time on the S's. We're just gonna see. You can see he has a little bit extra confidence, but looks like Cody, essentially did that first sector, the last part of the first sector, just a little bit better. You can see Brian just pushing, using a bit more of the curb. But this is the part, Andrew, where he starts losing a little bit of time, maybe using a bit too much of those curbs, maybe lacking a little bit of confidence on the downforce of the car. But the gap is around 0.4 of a second, 5 tenths, nearly 6. So you can see he's just losing a little bit of time on this S's.
Yeah, he's been, I think, struggling through the S's throughout the course of the evening. And he's a bit wide there in 10, into the dirt. Can he hang on to it? Yes, he does. But he does go through that dirt and gives up second place to Steve Singer. And what do you know? It's going to be another recovery drive, it looks like, for Singer back through this field. He's just been so good this season. Definitely seems to be much more familiar with the cars than most of these drivers. And, hey, sometimes that's part of it. I think that's part of racing, right? You get a little more practice, get a little more previous experience, and, yeah, you tend to be in tune with the car.
Absolutely, and he has just found, his rhythm with the car. I guess early on in the season, it has just been improving race after race, lap after lap. And it just shows, the pace that he's been showing, the confidence. Obviously, he's not immune to mistakes. We saw him locking up and nearly spinning the car a few laps ago. But, this man has been on another level, I guess you can say. Just the confidence, the trust that he has put on the car. And obviously on himself as well is just really nice to see.
You bring up kind of a fair point. I think Steve Singer took a couple of races to really get rolling. He was quick from the get-go, and I think might have won that first race. I don't actually recall who won at Daytona. It might have been Steve. But he definitely took, I think, a couple of weeks just to get rolling and get in proper form. And since then, he's just been so consistent. He's had a couple of mistakes, certainly a couple of races that I'm sure he wishes he could have back. But all things considered, really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. It can get even better if he can get past Cody Harger, Andrew. Winning 50% of the races throughout the season, that's no easy feat at all.
11 and a half minutes to go. Your top three in a line. This is good stuff. Brian Rose holding with these guys. Just holding. Nice and quietly behind him. I think Steve is really taking his time with Cody. He wants to be careful in the way he approaches. And especially for this win, I'm sure Cody's going to get defensive here. He's got a really good chance at a win. It would be his only win on the season if he can get it. He's just got to defend from Steve Singer. Got to make Steve's life as difficult as possible. Last week, I know you weren't here for it. We were informed that Steve had a bit of an injury, and to his left foot, actually, his braking foot. Can only imagine if it's maybe still hindering him just a little bit. He's been fast all night, but maybe in this attack mode, don't want to be too aggressive. Don't want to, make that flare up.
And not only that, he has to defend out also, but he also really needs to soak in all that pressure. We saw plenty of moves that Steve Singer, did after his pit stop were plainly due to forcing his competitors into a mistake. So if Cody Harger can really just, soak in that pressure, run his own race, keep on his own rhythm, he might, with 10 minutes to go, might just be able to leave the number 6, on his rear view mirror and just win the race. But obviously, Andrew, with still 10 minutes to go, that's what, 9 laps, 8 laps. So it's still a hard feat to get the car, around the track 8 times at the same pace without making mistakes, especially with a 4-time race winner behind your back.
It's going to be tough, but if anybody's going to be up to the task, it just might be Cody Harger. Now, Mark Truxell, the only other race winner in the session this evening. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Kevin Blue won the race last week, but Kevin Blue and Mark Truxell, the only other winners in this race this evening, 4th and 5th. Truxell has been very, very quiet today. And I was hoping to see maybe a stronger race out of him, but very quiet. I think just running his race. He knows where he's at in the championship. He knows there's really not much he can do, not much reason to push. Just go out there, complete as many laps as you can, keep the car as clean as possible, and if anybody crashes ahead of him, hey, he's got spots.
Absolutely, and so far running in 5th position, top 5 is always great, no matter which series you go to. So running his own race, keeping his nose clean, that's what he has to do. But currently, Andrew, it's interesting to see because the gap is remaining the same a little bit. You can see now Steve Singer really caught up, but Brian Rose is also keeping pace with these two. So, wow, we could see a 3-car battle if Cody Harger kind of, just backs Steve Singer up a little bit.
Oh, look there. Steve is starting to fill the mirrors, starting to show his nose. I think Steve is holding back. I think that, the first stint would definitely support that claim. I think Cody and Brian are very, very close on pace. Brian's starting to fall off a little bit as the tires go away, but Cody and Brian are very, very close on pace. Steve is certainly at a different level, and I think Steve is just holding himself back and being very, very careful here, as it looks like McMullen may have had an issue recently. We'll keep up with these top 3. 8 minutes to go, should be about 7 laps. And actually, we'll have this chance. Let's go ahead and quickly check in on those cars behind. Jesse Redding, position number 8, car 721. He's through the S's. Nice quiet race. He had a couple of issues earlier on, but recovering and keeping that car clean. And same thing for Thomas McMullen. I think he might have had an issue, might have gone for a spin, but very little damage there, if anything. Vincent Short, a much better second stint out of him, keeping things nice and tidy, nice and clean here in position number 6. And all of them chasing Cody Harger right now with 7.5 minutes to go. This is easily the best chance that Harger's had at a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a few laps, away from what could be a first win, a maiden win for him on the season. But look at how close Steve Singer is. You can see Cody now really pushing on the exit of turn number 10, really getting close to that dirt. Going a little bit defensive on their braking as well. That's going to compromise a little bit, but gets a better exit than Steve Singer. This is getting really, really interesting. Brian Rose is just kind of watching, just 1 second back, but this is a fun battle to watch. And Andrew, something you mentioned, kind of showed actually. Jesse Redding, Thomas McMullen, and Vincent Short, all 3 of them with kind of, issues, difficulty of their own. All of them in Corvettes, so kind of just once again showing the difficult nature of that Chevy car. But look at how close Steve Singer is.
Steve is putting the pressure on. He's toying with his bait right now. He's giving Cody a good little race here. I like this. I shouldn't say toying, maybe. That might not be the right word, but he certainly, I think, could pass if he really went to 100%, but at that point, you're risking both of your races. Don't go 100% here, not until the last lap, maybe. You can always resort to the bumper if you have to in turn 11. That's the best thing I think about Sonoma is if you really have to, you can always wait till turn 11 to make that move. It's the perfect passing opportunity if you want to get a little aggressive.
Absolutely. We saw that in NASCAR plenty of times.
Tony Stewart's final win came by hip-checking Denny Hamlin into the fence at turn 11.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I was just going to mention that. I remember Tony Stewart doing that just from watching old NASCAR videos. So, yeah, that could happen. But also, sometimes you don't even need the bumper. You just need to get inside ahead of the driver ahead of you. And that's, that's a hint of, it working.
Blood is in the water.
Yes, Cody Harger just showed a first sign of cracking under pressure. With 5 minutes and 30 to go, Andrew, this is definitely the worst time to do it, but he still has a few laps. But look at how close, Steve. We might see a move down here.
Oh, Harger had to defend for a moment there. Singer thought about it. Steve really thought about it that time.
That's just allowing himself to, essentially just getting ahead of Cody Harger. Where I'm going to make a move. I could make a move in turns 4, 5, the hairpin. I'm close enough. And he's definitely close enough, Andrew. Oh, a mistake from Harger. He goes a little bit wider. He goes into the dirt, but he still keeps the car pointed in the same direction. This is fantastic racing. A small lockup for him as well. Only
problem now is we're burning daylight. You're burning time. You're burning sand, if you will. At least, as far as a what are they called actually? An hourglass. That's what I was trying to think of. So you're burning a little bit of time on that hourglass, and if you burn too much, you're not going to have the same kind of opportunity. So at this point, whenever Steve makes his move, he's got to be picture perfect. He's got to be absolutely on it. Cannot lock up the brake. Can't go a little bit wide. Can't have any contact. You've got to be perfect at this point. Harger's loose out of 3A, gathers it up, and he's okay. But if you're Steve now, you've burned just enough time. You followed him long enough, and now you're starting to fall back. Whenever the move comes, it's got to be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. He cannot waste any more opportunities. just take the lead. He should just, as you mentioned, as soon as it comes, just take it, go for the gap, because he's falling back. Look at the gap, 0.8 of a second. I'm not pretty sure if something happened to him a second. Is something wrong, car number 6?
I wonder if he caught a slowdown. I didn't see where he would have gotten one. I know the connection issue is, he might just be backing off because he started getting those blinks again.
Could definitely be as well. Maybe getting some screen freezes as well. Probably not, right?
It all depends. It really depends on the source of the connection issue. If it's connection related, particularly with connection related, it wouldn't be any screen freezes, but he would be seeing the disappearing cars. Because when you blink on iRacing, when you as a driver blink, everybody else blinks out, but everybody sees you blink out, if that makes any sense. So on your screen, you see everybody go away, but on everybody else's screen, they see you go away. And that's more so connection. Oh! You're kidding me. Cody Harger, on a downshift into turn 4, just lost the motor.
I thought it was a lockup. Oh, no.
You're kidding me.
With 3 minutes to go. 3 laps.
Wow. I am actually speechless. I am actually speechless here. Cody Harger, on a downshift, it's just a bad downshift it sounds like, has had a big issue. Let's listen to it here. And Singer and Rose are very close. Listen to this. Just over-revved it. I think the motor had enough of it. I think he was engine braking through a lot of the corners previously, and just finally I think the motor had enough and quit out on him. Now, teammates, very, very close up front. Are we going to have a battle for the win? I don't know. Brian Rose a little far back. He could start getting aggressive. It's actually Jesse Redding off out of turn 3A. Vincent Short now is all wadded up. He's got a lot of damage. McMullen is fine. Redding with problems. He will get back after it. A lot just happened.
A lot just happened. I saw with the corner of my eye, Vincent Short parked it just on the outside of the exit of turn number 1 on the dirt. So pretty sure, a mistake just happened there. Maybe just locking up the rears. So unfortunately, that might be his race over. But as you mentioned, Andrew, these two teammates, could Brian Rose essentially catch up his teammate on the final few laps? The gap is around 0.9 of a second with, 2 laps to go? This is going to be close, but I don't think, we're probably going to bet against the number 6.
There, unfortunately, his car is 66. Now 1 lap down as he goes back to the pit lane. That is a level of pain I have personally never felt. He realizes he's not going to make it back to his box and he'll just take the tow. That is... I can't believe that. I really seriously cannot believe that for Cody Harger. Had a great chance at a win and loses the engine from the race lead, and now it's right back to square one. Right back to that first stint. Steve Singer in the lead, and there's no upsetting him at this point.
No, absolutely not. The gap has already risen by nearly a second since the beginning of the lap, and we're not even through the S's. So the pace has been on it since lap number 1. The number 6 driver, has just absolutely been dominating, and he deserves it. He has absolutely pulled each and every single lap together. Only a few mistakes, not even a handful, I'd say. He's just a well-deserved victory.
Well, as we come out of turn 11 here for the final, I think next to final time, we should get the white flag. Yes, we will. White flag is waving atop the flag stand here at Sonoma Raceway. Thank you, Barney, the flag man, for getting that out there. And look at that, a purple lap for Steve Singer, a 107.022. Can he drop into the 106s maybe on this lap? Oh, maybe. White flag is out, presented by Whiplash Simcams.
He's definitely going to try to go for that fastest lap, just running so close to the 106s. That's, if he doesn't get it, that probably will keep him, I guess, I don't know the term in English, but it won't sit nice with him. I know I would go for, that record lap, but, only a few seconds to find out. You can see the gap between him and Rose just rising and rising corner after corner, so he's definitely pushing for it, Andrew.
And he's held those tires back the entire run as well. He had better tires than Harger, sitting back and just collecting himself, and is now able to use these tires now that they're up to temp. He's looking purple on this lap. He is trending the right direction. He is looking very, very good. His car 6. We'll see if he holds it to the back end of the course. Turn 11 for the final time. not only is he going for the fastest lap of the race, he is going to come around to collect himself a championship. Congratulations, Steve Singer. It is now official. You are the champion of the Scar Grid Sports Car Championship. Did he go purple? No, not quite, but that's okay.
Absolutely. Winning half of the season, 5 victories. A well-deserved championship. Brian Rose is going to finish second in the race ahead of Kevin Blue, who's finished third. Mark Trucks is going to finish 4th place, so just keeping his nose clean got him 4th place, Andrew. But what a season we had from Scar as a whole.
Chuxel comes across the line, 2 more cars to finish. Those are McMullen and a Short. Now that Short's gotten back on the racetrack. And there goes Short, actually. For some reason, my mind went Shark there, I promise. It was headed to Shark. I don't know why. But I promise it was headed to Shark, and his name is definitely Short. I think I was mixing, I was thinking about Harger, because I was looking to Harger, and he has not gotten back on the racetrack. McMullen should be headed to us. There he is. So car 02 will finish the season here for us, and Steve Singer gets to properly burn this car down. Will he, though? We haven't seen many burnouts out of these guys. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if we don't see one out of car 6, even though he has definitely earned it at this point in the season, JP.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't mind seeing an Aston Martin being burned down. Not by downshifting, we just saw one, unfortunately.
Let's clarify, not burned down, but we wouldn't see him burning down in an Aston Martin.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah. I think that's a better way to put that, but definitely, I think, has earned it. I know he likes to get his podium pictures here on the front stretch, but he has earned the ability to just go burn that car down. Well, yeah, burn it down. There. Anyways, you get the point.
Yes, absolutely. That's going to be a nice shot for him. You know, the championship shot, you can say, alongside his teammate as well. What a season he had. Absolutely amazing.
Those HBR, Popple Aston Martins, have been so good. 10 races, 5 wins, and they were just so good the entire season. Really, really good season out of them. And, of course, I think Steve takes the cake a little bit, but Brian Rose very good as well. That's 10 races then, JP. Can you believe it?
It's crazy. You know, it started last year in October, you mentioned, and it's already, I mean, only 10 races. It doesn't feel like it, to be honest.
It doesn't. I don't know how to describe the feeling, but it feels a little surreal, I think, now that we're done with things, and that is the season of racing in the books. Let's go ahead and turn over to the drivers then, see if we can go ahead and get them in for their post-season interviews. Now, how about that? Post-season, not even post-race, post-season interviews here after the final race of the season. I do see Brian Rose, and now Kevin Blue will get an interview for the second week in a row, even though Harger, I think, really... Harger deserves at least the top 2, the way he drove this evening, and I really do feel for Cody Harger. We do have drivers alongside, though, JP. I know I usually lead off, but I feel like to close the season out right, we've got to go ahead and give you the floor here. Driver number 1, position number 1, car number 6, is Steve Singer headed your way.
Well, Steve, I mean, what a season you had. 5 victories out of 10 races. Just, I mean, talk us through it.
I mean, honestly, it should definitely not have been 5. I know I had the pace out there for certain, but Cody had me covered, I think, near the end. He had a mechanical failure. I warned him, actually, during practice about downshifting it too high in RPM. He's not real great on the brakes. That's admittedly his statement, and he uses the gearing to slow things down, and he was banging off the rev limiter all race long, and he blew it up going downhill in I think it was turn 5. So really, he had this thing covered. I wasn't going to force the issue. I wasn't going to be overly aggressive. I didn't want to take us both out to make a pass, and he was just quick enough to keep me in behind.
And obviously, you ran, you know, the whole first stint, you know, just controlling the pace at your own speed, and you built a nice gap. How difficult was it, you know, just following someone? Was the car too affected maybe by the dirty air? The aerodynamics changed a little bit. You know, what changed after the second stint, after you got stuck behind him, essentially?
Well, a combination of things. All season long, these guys would pit and take tires at the halfway break. There was maybe a couple of us that are used to running on old tires that wouldn't. But occasionally, I would still change 4 tires just because, whatever the reasons were. So I said, all right, well, these guys are going to change 4. I'm going to change 4. Well, nobody changed 4 but me, so I got stuck behind everybody. I got around Kevin, again, into the hairpin. I'm not sure if he made a mistake or if I just nailed the entry. And I got by Brian, and that was more of a mistake, I think, on his end. I think that was going through turn 10. But Cody, same thing. I told you, he had me covered. And Dirty Air definitely played a part, especially through the S's, that 8, 8A, and 9 combination. I would lose the nose a little bit, so I was trying to change up my line just slightly so I get some air on the nose. But yeah, Dirty Air, I didn't expect to see it. I didn't see it really anywhere all season until we got here to Sonoma.
And you mentioned all season. How do you look back on the championship essentially as a whole? Obviously, you won it. You know, it has to feel great, but I want to hear you say it. It
does feel great, absolutely. It's good. It's always good to win. It doesn't matter what the series is. I'm a road course guy, so to speak. Most of the guys in here are not, so I give them all the credit for showing up each week, knowing that they're going to have to chase the number 6 most of the time. It's not always the case, but it can be frustrating. I've experienced it on the oval side where I'm always the guy mid-pack. These guys showed up, at least a good handful of them, on a regular basis. They learned the craft. They kept at it, and Cody Harger especially got better and better and better. And I feel for him, man. He had this thing locked up. If it weren't for mechanical failure, it was his.
And well, I guess that's about it. I mean, you've talked how impressive you were in, and you mentioned also the improvement, especially from Cody Harger throughout the season, and that was the point of SCAR, you know, as a whole, I guess you can say. Well, what can we expect from Steve Singer in the future?
Well, I don't know. We're gonna run something. I don't know if we're gonna go to ARCA cars only on road courses. That's a possibility. I know those cars are a blast to drive on the road course, and it puts, you know, the oval guys I'm used to running with in something that they're at least familiar with, and to see if they can apply any of these lessons learned going forward into that series. But that's unofficial. I don't know if we're gonna go that route yet. We got a lot to look at. I guess there's an update coming with some newer cars too, so we may look at those as well. We'll see. But yeah, before you guys let me fly out of here, I got to thank Brian Rose, again, Brian with HBR, teammate for certain. Speaking of guys that put the time in, the effort, the laps, he improved significantly throughout the season, and he continues to do so, and he's doing it on a set of old crappy Logitech or Thrustmaster pedals, so if he gets some proper pedals, look out. And Mark Truxell for just being there, and he literally showed up here every single week. I bet you he's got more laps on any overall the season. Wasn't able to bring home a championship, but a good run. He stayed with it, and I certainly appreciate him and everybody else being here.
Absolutely. Well, you guys should definitely try the new Brazilian stock cars that are coming. Unfortunately, I won't be able to try them, but I hope they're as good as we have in real life. But that's about it, Steve. Thank you so much for the season, and I hope you enjoy your night, you know, as a champion.
Thanks, JP. Have a good one. Thanks for helping us out, and a great job with the coverage.
Absolutely. And Andrew, that was our champion, the number 6, Steve Singer. Well, I'm pretty sure he's going to sleep very, very happily tonight.
I think he'll sleep well after this one. And like you said, it's always good to win, no matter the circumstances, no matter what that win might be. And again, I harken back to the point where he had to execute all season long. He had to put the laps in. He couldn't just go out there willy-nilly and treat it like it was a schoolyard dance. No, he had to go out there and properly run laps, and he certainly was pressured. And this evening, it did not look like he was going to win the race after the pit stops. It looked like Cody Harger had him covered up just enough, especially once Steve had to back off for a second, and Cody pulled that gap. So, really, Steve Singer did a great job this evening and earned this one, even though, admittedly, that first stint, he was out to lunch. He had to earn it there in the latter half of the race. Let's bring in second place this evening, Brian Rose. Car number 89 was here most of the season. And Brian, you were always decently consistent. You were always just maybe a half step behind Steve Singer. What was it like trying to feed off of him and try to learn along with him?
Hey, first off, thank you guys for this broadcast this season. Thank Steve and Scar for putting this on. I've gotten a whole lot better. I'm an oval guy. Number one thing to take away from this, Steve Singer got Holler Boys Racing a championship and a win tonight. So to bring it home 1-2 in a championship, that's awesome. Going back to the race, I knew I didn't have nothing for Steve. I ducked down there and turned 11 one time just to make him think I had something. But I knew he was going to run off and leave me eventually. He's just so good. Like he said, it's where I heard chasing the 6 car. Unreal unfortunate for Cody, but man, I've had a rough up and down season. Seems like if I could just drive within my limits, keep the fenders on the car, and have a clean car at the end, I'm on the podium. I know that hasn't happened very often this season, but I've learned a lot, and it's been a heck of a ride.
Now, with this new focus on road racing in the NASCAR Stock Car Series, be it well, I guess the NASCAR National Series, be it the NASCAR Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, even the Truck Series now going to Sonoma again this year. Obviously, this has to be kind of a focus for you guys. Get a few more laps on road courses, no matter the car. So I'd imagine this GT1 car kind of helps you at least with the next-gen car. There's some parallels that can be drawn, certainly. What's the biggest thing, then, that you've learned this season from driving the GT1 cars at 10 fantastic racetracks?
Well, obviously, these handle a whole lot different than the big, heavy stock cars that I'm used to. But getting it on a road course, it's learning the craft, learning braking zones of each track that you're going to. Learn how you can take this, how to roll that curb a little bit better. Use the curb to help you turn, things I wasn't doing in the past. Be more straight line braking, easy on the throttle, all that little stuff. You learn so much. And even oval can translate into a road course if you pay attention. Just super thrilled to be a part of this, part of Holler Boys Racing, Track Bar Media, and PitStop. All you guys, man, it's been fun this year.
It's been a lot of fun having you. There's been some spills. There's been some great battles, great moments throughout the season. What sticks out to you after 10 races? I guess, what's the highlight of the season?
Steve Singer not winning 10 races.
Fair enough.
But no, he's good. Like I said, he split the season. He won 5, won the championship. I was close, a couple times. I know I was up leading it at least in one race, so that was a highlight of the season for me, and then being able to bring it home here tonight. I really love Sonoma. Obviously, we go to these tracks that, used to running the stock cars on. I have a feel for it. I memorize the track, and every time you go back, it's not left, straight, left. You got to memorize the track. You got to learn where your braking points are and how to get into this corner to get into the next corner. And that's just repetition. It's just getting laps on track. So we start coming back to these same tracks next season. I think I'll definitely improve.
There you go. Spoken like a road racer in training. I like it. Is there a track now that stands out to you? Maybe a new favorite or a track that you gained a new appreciation for?
There's several I thought I would like going into this season until I got out there. Try not to go towards Watkins Glen and Sonoma. I like Monza. I didn't run well at Monza, but Canadian Tire, I love Canadian Tire. That was probably my favorite track of the season. If we take away the 2 NASCAR tracks. But yeah, all of them were fun. I wish we could keep a full field coming. Credit to the guys that showed up. It is hard to get pumped up for these races, knowing you're going to come out here and 2 or 3 guys are just going to, mop the floor with you. But that's not what it's about. It's not about to get out here and run away from the field. It's about to get out here and watch a couple guys and learn so you can translate that over into something else and get better moving forward. And I think in that aspect, this was a successful season for me.
Absolutely. Really good takeaways there, Brian. Congratulations on a season well done. It should be 3rd in the standings, I do believe, when it's all said and done, or at least around there. So that in and of itself is worth being proud of. Congratulations on a season well done, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you, guys.
And that's Brian Rose. I know we had Eddie Rose out in the chat on Facebook and a couple of his fans out there. Big time congratulations to Brian on a really good season of racing here. We'll kick things over, though, to 3rd place finisher. Two races in the season. Just 2 races ever. And he's got 2 top 3s, JP, and he's headed your way.
So, Kevin, is the second time we're talking to you. First time for me, at least. How would you look back on this race tonight?
It was it's a tough track, man. I came in this race and I didn't really feel like I was going to do very well. I mean, really, I would have ended up 4th, kind of stayed in that spot if I can't remember his name, if he hadn't blown his engine up. But overall, man, this race was fun. The track was fun. I started to feel it towards the end. It just started feeling better, and I'm happy with 3rd place, man. That's awesome.
And obviously, this being only your 2nd race of the season, obviously last week I'm pretty sure you won, so it can't really get better than that. But looking back on these 2 races, have you learned a lot about the car, about the people you were racing with?
Yeah, man, I've learned to love this car. This car is awesome. These GT1s are sick. I love that the braking is tough. You really got to know how to drive them. I've been road racing for a while. That's pretty much my main thing. But these cars are definitely a different animal. But yeah, last week I think I kind of got lucky last week. A couple guys kind of got into each other, and I was able to take the win. And Steve kind of went off the track towards the end, but I can't wait to race with these guys. Hopefully next season I'll be able to race with them. This has been great.
Absolutely. Obviously, we unfortunately haven't had you for the whole season, but 2 races was enough to mark your presence on the championship. And if a next season comes in road racing, what car would you choose?
Oh, man, these cars are cool. GT3s are always good just because, everyone's pretty good at them. They're pretty forgiving, but I don't know. I kind of like what Steve was talking about with the ARCA cars. That seems like it'd be a challenge. And a lot of these guys are oval racers, so they would be a lot more comfortable with them. And that would be a lot more of a challenge for me just because I'm so used to being able to hammer it out of the turns and everything. You can't do it on those ARCA cars. They're just a little too squirrely. I think those ARCA cars would be awesome.
Definitely be a nice and welcome challenge by the whole grid, I'd say. It would make a lot of fun on the roadside aspect. But, well, Kevin, it was, I guess you can say it was a fun season for you. Start off with a win and then a 3rd place. And, well, with that being said, who do you have to thank for your season so far?
I've known Steve for a few months. He invited me to come in and race with him. We were actually Daytona 24-hour teammates, and HBR broadcasts a lot of Lone Star Racing's charity races and everything, and that's who I'm affiliated with. And yeah, man, props to Steve. He puts on a good league. I like the format with the caution in the middle of the race. So that's pretty cool. And also Mark Truxell, man. Mark Truxell, he was one of my Daytona 24-hour teammates too, and he's always a real consistent guy and a good driver, and it's fun racing him too. So I guess Steve and Mark, man, they've been great.
Absolutely. So a little bit of fun with your teammates, and obviously you got the upper hand, at least on Mark Truxell. But yeah, Kevin, it was a pleasure talking to you. Hopefully, next season we're gonna have plenty more chances to talk to you. You seem like a really good guy, and obviously really fast as well. So plenty more opportunities to catch up.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Andrew, that was Kevin Blue. A great start of the season for him. 2 races, a win, and a 3rd place. You cannot really ask for much more. That's a really good start.
That's how things go down for car 26. Just 2 shows and, well, 2 top 3s. Good way to go. Steve Singer grabs another win, grabs a championship this evening, and I think you do see names on here that you've seen most of the season. I think there's 6 that stand out. Steve Singer, Brian Rose, Mark Truxell, Thomas McMullen, Cody Harger, and Vincent Short. Those guys were here for the majority, if not the entire season, and really even the core of this series. You throw in Kevin Blue and Jesse Redding towards the back end here. They both showed up for Laguna Seca and Sonoma. And as Steve said, a big, serious, and even Brian touched on it, I think even Ken kind of mentioned it, big, serious, I think, props, thank you, congratulations, whatever would be in order for those guys who did show up for the entirety of the season, or at least most of the season, put in the commitment, put in the time to work with this series and to grow with this series. I know it was kind of a development series, so it's kind of, on your own. If you want to develop, you show up. If not, well, then that's on you. But to see drivers put in the effort for the full season was very, very cool, very, very nice, very rewarding. Be able to learn these guys, you get to know them over the course of time. And in the case of Brian Rose, we didn't talk to him a whole lot this season, JP, but it was rewarding to get to talk to him at the last race of the season, kind of catch back up with him. And it was good to have stories like Mark Truxell, even Cody Harger, Vincent Short, that, they didn't always do all that hot, but in the case of Mark Truxell, he got that race win back at Mid-Ohio. In the case of Brian Rose, he contended for wins, top 3s and such. And even Cody Harger had a great chance at winning tonight. And unfortunately, it just didn't go quite right. Lost the motor on a downshift into turn number 4. You'll have that sometimes. It is racing. Things do go wrong. But these guys kept putting in the time, kept showing up for races. And that certainly is very, very admirable. That's a look then at your 8 cars that finished this evening, came out and showed up for the final race of the season. Let's take a look back at this schedule, JP. What stands out to you? What was your favorite track? I know you missed a couple, but what was your favorite race of the season?
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot. Daytona was an excellent season opener, I'd say. Lime Rock was pretty fun as well. Monza was pretty fun. I really did like Monza as well, so kind of putting me in the spot. Watkins Glen was really fun, but I'm going to say the opener. Daytona International Speedway was a great opener of the season. It was very tricky for some of the drivers, but, it was a good stepping stone, for those drivers, to obviously step up to the road racing aspect on a really difficult car on a track that sometimes, it's not really forgiving. It was a fun season opener, but the rest of the season as well, Andrew, it was just as fun.
My favorite had to be last week at Laguna Seca. Fantastic racing, great drama, came down to the last few laps there, and that was just a fantastic race. Everything you could want out of this series you saw last week at Laguna Seca. So, hey, JP, we got to go watch it later. I mean, let's go watch it back together, you and I. It was fantastic stuff last week at Laguna Seca. Properly good racing, and that one is always going to stand out to me. Speaking of standing out, something that's going to stand out here for us at PitStop TV is the fact that we don't have any broadcasts this next upcoming week. I know it says upcoming broadcast Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but that's all next week. What this doesn't have is the word next in front of each of those. We do not have a broadcast again until next Tuesday. And for reference, that checks in, I believe, on the 15th. Yes, Tuesday, March 15th is our next broadcast here at PitStop TV. We get a week off, and I know that feels good. I know, we would like to have more content, but it's just a week off for the series that we do have. They're avoiding the iRacing.com build. I think is good. Sometimes things go a little bit awry. It's better just leave those league races off and let everybody just enjoy this week 13. I think it always feels good. And, as you kind of touched on a little bit, JP, there are some new cars and even a new track coming in this upcoming build. You can check that out on iRacing's website for more, and we'll have some more posts about it later this week. But we have a whole week off. Now, when we come back from that week off, this is what we have to look forward to. It's Tuesday, March 15th, with the North American Racing League Porsche Cup Series. We have to really get used to, what is it? Discerning? Not discerning. What is the word, JP? Help me out here. I just told a Portuguese native Portuguese speaker to help me out with an English word.
I know the word in Portuguese. I don't know the word in English, though.
Specify.
Specify between the Porsche
Yes.
Cup and the GT3s.
Yes, we
Differentiate.
have to differentiate. There you go. That's a good one. Yes, I think that's what I was looking for. We do have to differentiate between Tuesdays and Thursdays now with the North American Racing League between Porsche Cup and GT3 racing. Tuesdays, those are your Porsche Cup races with Tony Kanaan in the field, and hopefully he turns over and runs the GT3 races as well. But Tuesdays, Porsche Cup, Hungaroring on March 15th. Then Wednesday evening, we'll have the Nashville Fairgrounds with the Outlaw Sim Series. So you guys that are tuning in for SCAR this evening that like ovals, that's a broadcast we want you to watch. That is a broadcast you will like. It is Nashville Fairgrounds with the NASCAR Next Gen cars, so the Gen 7 cars. That's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, then we open the season with the new season of North American Racing League GT3 action at Road Atlanta. So really cool races coming up, really cool broadcasts coming up. And then the following week, we'll resume coverage with the British Sim Racers for their next season of racing. And then we get to that double broadcast grind. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think, through the good part of this spring, JP. You and I are going to know each other a whole lot for a lot of these broadcasts. And it's going to be a fun spring going into all the way into May. We're going to have some really good racing with these leagues, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. I cannot wait. We were talking pre-broadcast about these, and having two broadcasts in a week, we've had that with BSR, and now having with NARL, it's going to be fun seeing, some familiar faces and obviously some new faces as well for the GT3. I cannot wait. Honestly, I cannot wait. As you mentioned, you're going to get to know me a lot better. I'm going to get to know you a lot better. And probably by the end of NARL, you probably want vacations from me.
No. We enjoy having JP Cost around for a pretty good reason. We do invite you, of course, to follow along with social media. Plenty of places to do so. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. We're on every one of those platforms. Facebook.com/PitStop TV. Instagram.com. You can just go at Pit_Stop_TV. Same thing on Twitch. For Twitter, it's at PitStop TV_. And for YouTube, at PitStop TV 1. You'll find us by using those links there on your screen. It's been a fun season of racing, JP. We've already kind of talked about our standout moments. I think we can just go ahead and wrap things up and head on out from Sonoma. It has been a pleasure all season long. A big thank you to everybody that stepped in this season. And, I guess that still has the word commentary in there. Let's take that out, push that back up. There we go. it's been a fun season. JP, I'm glad that you're here for 8 of them. Wish you could have been here for 10, but I do want to thank Ed Scher and Devin Zimmerman, who stepped in those times of need for Montreal and Laguna Seca. Definitely appreciate the effort across the board at PitStop TV. So many great people doing so many great things here, broadcasting sim races for all of you guys to watch, and we certainly appreciate you guys doing so. For everybody here at PitStop TV, all of our partners, Tucson Sound Art, Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, Whiplash Media, and BAM Racing Videos, thank you, good night, and we will see you next time.